Just as we set boundaries for ourselves, it's equally important to recognize and honor the boundaries set by those around us. In our previous episodes, we have understood setting boundaries, we have identified our own personal limits, we have learned how to communicate those boundaries effectively, we have learned how to balance these boundaries in personal and professional setup. Today, let's explore why respecting others' boundary is crucial for maintaining trust and respect in our relationship, and let's see how to do that effectively. Welcome back to our podcast. Today is last episode of this week's theme, setting boundaries. Today we'll be focusing on an essential aspect of healthy relationships, that is respecting others' boundaries. Respecting other people's boundaries is a fundamental for fostering healthy relationship. When we honor the limits set by others, we demonstrate empathy, understanding, and respect for their feelings. This mutual respect creates a safe environment where everyone feels valued and heard. Let's see some common type of boundaries to respect. Emotional boundaries. These involve how individuals express their feelings and how much emotional energy they are willing to invest in a relationship. Recognizing when someone needs space or time to process their emotions is key. Physical boundaries. These relate to personal space and physical touch. It's essential to be aware of how close you can get to someone and to ask for consent before initiating any physical contact. Time boundaries. These involve respecting others' time, commitments, being punctual and not overstepping scheduled time frames shows that you value their time, and also not to be very demanding of someone else's time, because they do have their own priorities and they need their own space, their own downtime. Some strategies and insights for respecting other people's boundary. Listen it actively. Pay attention to verbal and non-verbal cues when someone communicates their boundaries, maybe directly or indirectly. Active listening shows that you respect their needs and are willing to adapt. Once you listen actively, you might want clarification. Ask for clarification. If you're unsure about someone's boundaries, don't hesitate to ask, like you would like to be asked or clarified about your boundaries. Someone else also need the same. Phrasing your question respectfully can help clarify any uncertainties. For example, I want to make sure I'm respecting your space. Is it okay if I call you after work? May I take your 5 minutes? Do you have space to have this conversation today? These kind of a questions shows that you respect their boundaries. You clarify if they are in that space to give you that time. Acknowledge and validate. When someone expresses their boundaries, acknowledge their feelings and validate their needs. This can be as simple as saying that I understand that you need some time alone and I respect that. Be mindful of your actions. Reflect on how your behavior may impact others. If someone is communicating their boundaries to you, how are you reacting? Consider whether your actions might inadvertently cross someone else's boundaries or make adjustments as needed. You have to be sure that you are coming up as a positive, you are being positive when they are communicating their boundaries to you. Practice empathy. Try to put yourself in the other person's shoes. Understanding their perspective and can help you appreciate why their boundaries are important to them. Have a chat with them. Let's see another great insight from the book of Brené Brown, The Gifts of Imperfection. She she emphasizes the importance of vulnerability in relationships. We have done a very powerful and a separate episode called Embrace Vulnerability. You can watch that. She says that vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change. Respecting others' boundaries allows for vulnerability to flourish, creating deeper connections and trust. Like you are communicating your boundaries, you are being vulnerable, so it's okay. Give yourself permission to be vulnerable. If communicate your boundaries in a similar way, if someone else is communicating their boundaries, see, feel it that they are also being vulnerable, so give them that space, give them that trust that they can be vulnerable with you. Let's see some very common examples of respecting others boundaries, like in workplace, in a professional setting. Respecting colleagues need for focused time can enhance productivity. For example, if a coworker has indicated that they prefer not to be interrupted during certain hours, honoring that boundary can lead to a more respectful and efficient work environment. Friendship boundaries. Friends may have different comfort levels regarding sharing personal information. Respecting a friend's decision to keep certain aspects of their private life private fosters trust and strengthen the friendship. We have a very unique story here, and this is an example of actually being vulnerable. I want to thank our listener Shreya, who shares a pivotal moment in understanding and respecting others' boundaries. She writes that for a long time I prided myself on being the go-to person for my friends. I loved being there for them, but I didn't realize that my eagerness to help often crossed their boundaries. So one evening, I received a call from my friend, and she was going through something, and I immediately dropped everything to go to her. While I thought I was being supportive, I later learned that the friend felt overwhelmed by my constant presence and unsolicited advice. She needed space to process her feelings, but I was so focused on helping that I didn't recognize her need for solitude. A few days later, her friend, she confronted her about the behavior. So she explained how my well-intentioned actions were making her feel smothered instead of supported. It was a wake-up call for me, Shreya says. I realized that I have been so caught up in wanting to help that I hadn't considered her feelings or asked what she truly needed. After our conversation, I took the time to reflect on my behavior. How could I better respect her boundaries? I reached to my friend, apologized, and let her know that I appreciated honesty and would respect her need for space moving forward. And not only with that friend, but that was a wake up call for other relationships also, for in other spaces also. And this experience not only strengthened our friendship, but also taught me the importance of open communication and checking in with others about their boundaries. Wow. Thank you, Shreya, for being so vulnerable, accepting something you have done. I would not say wrong, but something, um, someone didn't feel very comfortable about your behavior, and you are very open to share it with us. And this is very common thing that we feel that we are helping other people, we feel that they need our support, we feel that we are actually doing a great thing by being present with them or advising them in that case, but we do not know that if they are ready for that, or we do not know if they actually want that kind of a thing from us. So asking that how can you help in that situation, can clarify, and that is the effective communication of asking them about their boundaries. How would they like you to help them, or support them. Thank you again, and I encourage my listeners to share these kind of stories which we all can learn from something. Some self coaching questions: how do I typically respond when someone expresses their boundaries? What boundaries do I find challenging to respect, and why? How can I improve my active listening skills to better understand others' needs? In what ways can I demonstrate respect for the boundaries of around me? Respecting others' boundaries is not just about setting limits, it's about fostering trust and understanding in our relationship. When we take time to listen and communicate openly, we create a safe space where everyone feels valued and respected. Remember, it's okay to ask questions and clarify what others need from us. By doing so, we not only honor their boundaries but also enhance our connections. So, as you go about your day, consider how you can be more mindful of the boundaries of those around you. It could be the key to building deeper, more meaningful relationships. Thank you for joining us this week. This was the last episode of this theme, and I hope you find all the episodes useful to set the boundaries, to communicate it effectively, to respect other boundaries, and find that balance. If you find this episode helpful, like, comment, subscribe, and share it with other people who you feel that can use this kind of an information and podcast in their life. And share your experiences with us in any kind of a situation you feel you have an inspiring story. We will cover it in our next segment or in a special episode. And until then, let's continue to grow together.
Awak nak buat hadiah dekat orang, awak nak pikat hati crush awak. Ui, paling berbaloi awak. Yang nak pegang pun gigil awak. Kami pun rasa gigil nak pegang ni awak. Betul. Dekat Dubai kita jual 149 awak. Tapi sekarang ni 69 je kami buka. Paling berbaloi. Perempuan boleh ambil kita punya eternal white. Lelaki kita punya dark lord. Bau dia macam mana? Perempuan ni awak, ini bauan dia lembut. Dia ada bau bunga jasmin yang bagi dia semerbak gila bau dia. Dicampur dengan bau semerbak bunga ros sedikit. Bau macam datin lah macam tu. Memang datin yang mahal punya bau. Ni untuk perempuan. Lelaki ni, ini memang jantan maskulin. Tapi dia keras sikit. Memang betul-betul keras. Dia memang betul-betul bau sultan yang tengah lepak main polo.